Hey, welcome to the Steve Davis Show. Special guest today is Bruce Carver, retired Rio Rancho Public Schools athletic director. And Bruce, thanks for coming in.
Hey, I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, I tell you, what a run. I mean, I just want to, how you've had a great run, and you're still running. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but give us everybody a little Reader's Digest of how you got to where you are today.
Well, I did have fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and I never thought I'd leave Hobbs, New Mexico. Thought I was Hobbs for life. I'd been there 13 years as the athletic director, and kind of got interested in this whole Rio Rancho thing.
But going back to, you got to coach, be with Ralph Tasker, and then also
Right.
got the end of his career, and then also, which a lot of controversy. I mean, it was a tough one, because and then you brought in Gilmore and had success there. I mean, that's a great story itself.
It was a different situation. I had no idea when I went to Hobbs that. I knew Ralph would be quitting, obviously, at some point, is with his age. I knew he'd be quitting, but I had no idea that what would happen did happen, where he was forced out by the Hobbs School Board. And it was a really tough place to be in, a horrible place, but at the same time, you're 37 years old, and you're already there, and you're like, what am I going to do? It's a tough situation. I made up my mind that we'll roll the dice. And I'll do the best I can. And you know what? If this doesn't work out, I'll get another job. And
a lot of pressure. People, high profile. Basketball's the sport. That's the thing. And
there's no question, it was tough, and I could have given myself ulcers over it. But I kind of hit a point where, like you do with everything in life, what are you going to do? You're going to crawl up in the fetal position, or you're going to fight. And I said, if I can do anything, maybe I can hire a right basketball coach. There's no guarantee, but I decided to do the best I could and make the best and see what happens. Like I said, if it didn't work out, I could always get back into coaching or whatever the case may be. There's always a silver lining, so I looked at it that way, and I didn't look at it like it was death or do or die. I just went out there and we hired the right guy. He won 4 straight state championships, and he ended up with 5, and he had a great run there. It's the most successful run in 6A or the large class. Nobody's ever done what he did. He didn't do it by himself. He had some great talent, but he was the right guy
to put that talent together. I mean, as you and I both know, the talent's great, but you still got to coach it and you got to put it together. The psychology, there's a lot of.
I've seen a lot of people lose with talent, and I've seen people win with talent. And he had talent. He won.
He did it consecutive years, so he knew how to. He was the right guy at the right time.
Yeah. So, end of the day, I had Hobbs was home, and good times, bad times, whatever, it was home, and I had no plan really to leave. I was going to retire there, and then I thought the Rio Rancho thing came open, and my good friend Gary Tripp and I started talking about it, and somehow in that deal, after 13 years, I thought I had one more job in me. One more big job, one more run, one more challenge, like we all do. I got excited about it, and it was tough to leave Hobbs, tougher than I thought it would be because so many good friends, and that's home. But I'm glad I did. I have 10 years in Rio Rancho. Things worked out. It was a good.
Well, our path started in Hobbs. I mean, that was kind of, it's interesting, just yours and I's path. I mean, because at that time I was coaching for Sandia, and we were going to Hobbs, and we got out of my Clovis. I'd never beat Hobbs any time in my life with Ralph Tasker, and I have nightmares to this day about Ralph Tasker and Hobbs. I've had my greatest games against Hobbs, and I'd still get beat 25, 30 points. Okay,
yeah.
So it was rewarding for me to go in with Tom Norbert and his son to come in and pull most 90% of the wins at Ralph Tasker Arena for the history of the school, and we pulled a victory out.
Yeah, it was a big game. I'll never forget that game. You guys beat us down there in Hobbs at Ralph Tasker Arena, and had we got by that game, who knows? We might have won 5 in a row. It was a good offensive team you guys beat. A very good offensive team. Defensively, I don't know that it was one of our best teams, but they had a shot, and then you guys went on to the state championship.
And lost to LaQuave.
And lost to LaQuave in
by
the
2
championship.
points,
But
so.
what I forget what the score was, Steve, 113 to 109 or something like that.
It was very, yeah, I want to say it was 103, pretty, very, very close because it was, I know at one time it was 107 to 101
Yeah.
with like a minute to go, and y'all made a run, and we hit some free throws about right at the end.
So many great games down there that I remember, and that was one of the great ones. You don't just remember the wins, you remember some of the tough losses too. But what a history there. In talking about Coach Tasker, I learned a lot from him. And he was a great coach. You can't take anything away from what he's done, what the legacy he left, both in wins and the way he coached. And just like I say, I learned a lot from him. Probably one of the greatest things about him, he's very humble, and I always respect humble people that do great things that are still humble. And he was that kind of a person.
And you got close with Russ Gilmore, still close with Russ Gilmore today, and so you had two legendary coaches in a period of 10 or 11 years.
Russ is a heck of a coach, and Russ is old school. He's old school and tough disciplinarian, but his system, I think his system is really good in the simplicity of it. And I see coaches a lot of time down through the years sometimes overcoach, and he always had an ability to take that system and communicate it. No matter what you're doing, the kids have to understand it, and they have to be sold on it and make it work. It's one thing to know something, but to get the kids to do it. And he was great at that, I think.
Both coaches just had passions for basketball. I mean, that was their life. I mean, it was the whole. I mean, that was even talking to Russ, and even the few times I talked with Taskers, it was basically basketball was their life, and still is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no question. And I still have a passion for that game, even though as an athletic director down through the years, you love all of it. I like all the sports and enjoy the competition, and I enjoyed a lot of the parts about administration also, although it's just a little different.
Well, I tell you, it's funny because you bring up Gary Tripp, and Gary Tripp is really responsible in a way for ProView Networks. I mean, he was, when we came in, and actually you and I were being recruited at the same time in a different area. I mean, You went to Rio Rancho, and then he moved on to the MMA, and it's opened both of our careers up, and it's basically up to.
I think Gary he's a vision guy, he's big picture type person, when he has ideas, and he's really good at that. And I remember Gary saying to me that, can you imagine being up there? Being that district over there at Rio Rancho and winning all those state championships. And that was before they had won a bunch of state championships. They had won some as Rio Rancho High School, but can you imagine both those schools doing really well? And he's the one that planted that seed, really, and I started thinking about that. And of course, you don't know how that's going to go, but obviously it exceeded my expectations of the success we had over there.
And then the other one is, you were one of them, if you really go back, 10, 11 years ago, you were one of my first guys on ProView Networks on the Steve Davis show.
That's right.
You came in, and how things changed. I remember, you laugh about this, you were like one of my first guests. I think you were my first guest.
I still have that CD.
And I'm like, DVD. And here I'm trying to be something I wasn't, okay? And you came in and you had your suit. I remember you came in and we talked, and I'm trying to bring out the best, just being the best I could. And it was so exciting to me. My stomach was hurting the day, but I couldn't sleep the night before. I had Bruce Carver coming in. He's from Hobbs, a team, a town that I had great respect for and had a great deal. And then you coming in and being part of Rio Rancho, and you also took the time to come in and kind of sit down with me and talk about your dream about the next your next conquest and what you want to do in your life.
Right. No, I remember that too. And don't get me wrong, it was not all just walk in and some people may think that, they just walk in and you had it made because you guys have all those kids out there and you're going to do well. You had to first of all, I had to gain trust to put that coaching staff.
Trust, you had to have trust from both schools.
Right.
I mean, you were in a really difficult situation because the new school, kids wanted to transfer to the new school. You were in that. And then, like you said, Rio Rancho already had kind of a good little,
And I think there's that there's always that bond with the guys you hire. There's a certain bond. I hired these guys, and there's a loyalty there when somebody hires you. I know I have it. I had it for Sue Cleveland. She hired me. I was loyal to her, and I think we naturally had that with those Cleveland coaches. Starting that staff from scratch. You're going to have that. But Rio Rancho, I didn't hire those guys that were there. So, earning their trust and their loyalty, that's not going to come easy. That's going to take time, to develop those relationships and to, show them that you support them. And, of course, eventually we did hire some of the coaches at Rio Rancho, some of the newer coaches. But there's still a lot of coaches, several coaches there that we didn't hire, who I feel great about. I couldn't hire a better coach than Ron Murphy, for baseball, or Paul Coleman for softball, or Uva for soccer. So anyway, it was a different situation. It didn't just happen overnight.
Well, Bruce, we're going to go to Dream Style Top 10 Plays of the Week and come back and talk more about Bruce Carver.
Okay.
Sends it in. Blanchard, can he finish? Yes! And St. Pius is through, and it's 1-0.
It almost was gone there.
Jasper's got speed.
And here's a screen pass over to the right side, and that's going to be broken all the way to the end zone. And just like that, Rio Rancho's in.
Down at 10 for the Cowboys. They give it to Alston. Alston turns it up 20. Alston 10. Alston to the house.
Man, this beat is crazy.
Cameron looking, throws it out, has a man out there. Ball is caught. Touchdown, Cowboys. That's kept up, and it's the defense that continues to do the work here. So active, Cibola. Casal sends a free ball. Wandra, far side. Off the block is Hudson. Martinez can still set to Casals. Backcourt, no. Dumped over by Wandra. Here comes Martinez to Oliver. Why not? Kept up by Garcia in play. Maybe the longest rally. Back and forth we go. Coming around in a slide. That's blocked. In play. And a third ball is going to be a free ball from Casals. Wandra will set Mosley on the near side. Mosley. No.
Man, this beat is crazy.
Oliver on a tip. Yes. We go here in the third quarter. Here's Dorian Lewis. Dorian, a stiff arm. It's Lewis. A move to the outside. Dives to the end zone.
Cleveland for a tie-up with the #1 Cleveland Storm. Manzanares back to field this one at the sideline, And he does, hurdles through the first round of defenders. Now he's breaking to the other side of the field. There's a lot of green in front. What a vicious stiff arm. Still on his feet. He's cutting at the 10, and it's all the way back for a Cibola touchdown. Nathaniel Manzanares.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Hey, welcome back to the Steve Davis Show. We've got Bruce Carver, retired Rio Rancho athletic director here, and boy, you caught a lot of people on shock, Bruce, when you retired. I mean, it was like and it was not. I mean, take that as a compliment. I mean, from the the. Just not from ProView, from myself and everything, when you decided that you were going to call it quits, from not call it quits in life and deal, but I'm just saying call it quits from that. It was like, what's, first thing, it's health. I mean, really, truthfully, that's the first thing, when somebody, because, you keep yourself in such great shape, and people have so much admire you and Rio Rancho and all the things that you've done, and all of a sudden, and it was like, all right, well, I'm going to be retiring here at the end of the year, and like just out of nowhere. Have you been thinking about that for a while, or what?
Yeah, I had been. I think when you get to the point where you can retire from the schools or anything else, when you can from a financial standpoint, then you start. I think sometimes you start questioning, well, I don't really have to do this from a financial standpoint. I can do whatever I want to. So you start kind of that seed's planted in your mind a little bit. But I think also things had started to. It's been a great run. It's been good. I enjoy a lot of it. But there's certain aspects that I won't kid you that I didn't enjoy. Like any job, there's certain aspects of it that I didn't enjoy, and you kind of lose your enthusiasm for certain aspects of it. Example, dealing with parents. Not that all parents are bad, they're not. But, parent conferences.
Well, the expectations of the parents, and I think I can ask you this question because you've done it, probably 4 generations. So,
right.
Touch on that a little bit. What's different?
Well,
when I went to school, my dad said, do whatever, you just stay out of the deal. These guys are your, you just do what the administration says, you do what your coaches say, and,
right.
and we got the support behind it, and now that has changed quite a bit.
Oh, that's a great point, Steve. I think, you know what, I started coaching in 1982. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, I kind of 4, maybe 5 generations.
And, I started in administration in like 1997, and here we are in 2018. So I've done it for a long time, and I wrote an article for the Athletic Directors Association before I did retire, and basically, I forget the title, but it was how things have changed since 1982. And, as an administrator, you're dealing with a lot of bullying, hazing, drugs. Social media has changed things a lot.
Huge.
So there's just a lot of new, different problems.
Technology.
That you didn't deal with in 1981. As an athletic administrator back in the day, you worried about scheduling. You worried about facilities being up to par, making sure the kids had their physicals, some basic meat and potatoes type stuff. And now it's so much broader. So as good a run as it's been, I enjoyed the relationships more than anything. The people that were above me, like Sue Cleveland, the people I worked with, some of the great coaches and my athletic coordinators that we had, I enjoyed all those relationships, but some of it had started to wear on me. And I felt like it was just time for a change. And, maybe at some point, what else do we have to do to where I feel good about this? I mean, we've won 40 state championships over here, something to that effect.
Plus or minus.
Yeah.
No,
We won plenty of state championships. We won a lot. We did some neat things with facilities. We built something.
Got some
And
pro
then-
athletes and
And then Rio Rancho High School took a step back at the start, but they had came back strong. So I'd seen a lot of goals met. And you're almost 60 years old. Do you want to keep doing this for another year, another 2 years, another 3? And I could have easily done it another year or 2 or 3, but I was ready for a change. That's what it comes down to.
Well, I tell you, you made my day. I mean, or made ProView Networks, and that was one of the things that, because you've watched ProView evolve over the last. Actually, you're part of ProView. I mean, it's in Rio Rancho. You've been very, very supportive of ProView Networks. But when you made the comment that hey, I just like to maybe do some announcing for ProView Networks, that just really, I know Adam and all my guys in here got all excited because Bruce Carver's going to be doing some games, and so I just want to thank you for even thinking about us. That was something that you thought would be fun to do in your retirement part. So
Well, I appreciate that. You guys put up with my Texas accent, and
well, they're right there with me. I got I got the Clovis accent, so I'm right there with
I
you.
know.
So
I don't even notice it, but I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do have it. I don't even notice yours, but I think mine's way worse than yours. But it is what it is, and I do have that. But I really think it's been a great transition because I've got to stay in high school sports, and that's the hardest part, just walking away cold turkey from everything your whole life. Be a coach, be an athletic director, and then just say, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. That's hard to do. So this has allowed me to have a transition where I still can enjoy the games, the best part of high school sports.
and get to pick your choice and choose when you want to do a game.
Yeah, the games are the best part of the sports, and so I still get to be part of that, and I'm really enjoying that. Of course, I'm back into coaching too. So.
Well, I was going to bring that up. I mean,
Yeah,
I hear you off, Neil, and it was funny because you called and said you started working, just coming in for a couple hours during the deal to help, a guy you coach and mentored and almost had to, you had a long history with Wally Stellato, and to see that bond, that was just, and you called and I said, hey, man, that's awesome. I was all excited.
Yeah, it wasn't something I had planned when I retired, but I've always had in the back of my mind, and I've made comments, people that know me real well, I've made comments hinting that I'd like to get back into coaching, and not as a head coach. I've always said, wouldn't it be nice to be that assistant where you can just concentrate on coaching kids and the fundamentals of the game, and then helping them grow, making them better as people without the headaches of the head guy. And I've made those comments and those hints down through the years, but I didn't really have a plan. But all of a sudden, Wally and I were talking, and I just went out there, let me volunteer here a little bit. Next thing you know, I'm there every day.
Okay, that's the type of person you're. That's the
Next
type
thing
of
you
person.
know, I'm going to help him through the season. And I'm, as Wally said, he said, Bruce, the kids are getting used to you. You've grown on them, which made me feel really good. You've grown on them. Why don't you just commit to do this? So that's how that developed anyway. There's a plan somewhere. It wasn't a planned plan, but it turned out, and I'm getting the best, the best of the world working with young men again.
I have to bring this question up. Yeah, okay, you coached earlier in your career,
Right.
and now you come back. What is different now than from coaching then, and what you see in the game, how the game's changed, just not being coaching?
There's so many different things, but one thing that hadn't changed, I'll reverse the question
that's
on
okay.
you, is I think kids want discipline, they want structure.
I agree with that.
They want guidance, and we can still provide that. And especially, I'm a boys coach, and I think young men, a lot of them
You're a
don't,
player's coach, is the way I look at it.
some
I
of
mean,
them don't
that's
really
what-
have that male role model. Some of them do have a great male role model at home, but it doesn't hurt to have another one, And so you're always thinking about being that role model in everything you do, I think, as a coach. And I think my time as an athletic director has helped my coaching because I have a different perspective now. It's not all, so much about winning, and as you're younger, you're competitive, and
Well, don't you think that winning comes with the attitude? I mean, you say that, but I'm just saying when you do that's how I always think. If you do things right and you do it, then that's
it's a byproduct.
It's a byproduct.
It is a byproduct, and winning will come if you do things the right way. But obviously, you have a different perspective after being out of coaching for 23 years and being in administration.
I bet you're just so excited to get up and ready to get to the gym, and you can't wait for that first game. You can't wait till November 19th. You're like sitting there going,
It's been fun. I'm there at 7 a.m. every morning with Coach Salata there at Rio Rancho High School, helping the Rams with basketball any way that I can, and that's what I'm doing. I think the game has changed some. Now it's more spread out. There's more pick and rolls on the ball.
I was going to ask you that quick. That's something because you and I are similar on a thing, because I have that kind of urge to go back. If we can get ProView Networks going on its own, to get back into a little bit of coaching and being the same thing, come in and not just being part of it and give. I think we both have a lot to offer in basketball, and most of our connections, yours a little bit more because of all the sports you've done, but all my connections are basically basketball.
Right, sure. Yeah, there's that love for the game. And I had forgotten how much passion I had for the game. A lot of rust on the whistle, but you get out there and.
How about the speed? I think the reason I say that is Marty Sykes had me. I got to coach the one top 100, their top 20 kids about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I was just amazed at the speed and the athletic ability of every player. And it wasn't so much how much the skill level was so unbelievable.
Yeah, they play pretty fast, and of course Coach Salata likes up-tempo game at Rio Rancho High, and they can score, and they've had ability to score in the past. But I'll tell you one thing I have noticed the speed is I catch myself out in the middle of the floor and almost got knocked down several times, being just right square in the middle of the floor, which used to be wasn't a problem at 22 years old. But I've just recently had a hip redone, so I'm thinking, man, I need to be a little smarter than this and kind of move to the side and then come on the floor. But it is fast, and I think kids want to run. They want to get up and down, and it's a quick game. It's a spread-out game. The thing that I think is we've gotten away from is that inside game so much, the post game.
Well, I think the whole basketball. That's the whole. It's not
NBA,
just everything.
College, but it's neat to see some teams still incorporate that inside-outside concept, and I still believe in it. It may be old school. And get the ball inside, it's going to open up everything outside. You establish that inside, and I can't let go of that philosophy,
Well, you know what? I think it's something that you can instill because teams like to run, and if you can get somebody to run from block to block, that's a layup.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really, and you don't see that as much. You look to run to shoot the three.
Right.
But in going back, and then you can, and also you're the same philosophy as mine, is you can reverse the ball through the post to get that three, and then you just add one more element for the other team to have to guard.
Well, you've got to get some inside scoring, whether it's off a drive, rebounds, post play, which you're not seeing as much of, but you can't just live by the three and you're going to win strictly off shooting three-pointers. It's not going to happen.
That was funny because I just watched Isaiah Thomas. I was watching the NBA last night, and he was talking about Greg Popovich, how they went to the inside, 5 people touched the ball, and then they shot a three, but it was wide open, contested, uncontested, and he said that's why they win games.
Sure, no doubt, and I'm seeing that from some of our younger kids at Rio Rancho that I'm coaching some of the younger kids, and they'll come down and just crank a shot, on a break, on a fast break, and I'm just like, wow, you can't be shooting three-pointers on a fast break unless you have the green light, but everybody thinks they have the green light, but we got to work on that.
Hey, Bruce, thanks for coming in, and we're looking forward to seeing you. We'll be doing the games, and we'll be And you're still welcome to do play-by-play when you're not coaching.
I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, thanks a lot, Bruce.
You bet. Thank you.